Happy Wednesday. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. Hope everybody out there is having a fantastic day. And we have another loaded show on the docket for today's Niners Report. San Francisco, after the trade deadline, they have made a couple of roster moves. We have an update on Christian McCaffrey and what the 49ers plans could be to utilize him this upcoming Sunday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A couple of programming reminders. If you're excited for the return of Niners football on Sunday, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. We'll be doing a watch party for that game right here on the channel. Our pregame show gets underway at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. We'll preview the game, and then during the game, live play-by-play, instant reaction, audience interaction, the best place to experience a Niners game day outside of being at the actual game. So be sure to hit that subscribe button down below to join the largest independently run Niners channel right here on YouTube. Let's start off with the move that the Niners made yesterday, which then kind of set the stage for what the Niners did as far as making a couple of additions to their practice squad. In case you missed it, right before the buzzer of the 2024 NFL trade deadline, San Francisco traded for defensive tackle Khalil Davis, a 2026 round pick out of Nebraska by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's been in the league for a little while. In 2023, he actually played for the Birmingham Stallions in the USFL. Doesn't have a ton of experience at the NFL level, but the last 2 years, he's really started to play a lot better, and he's earned a role as a rotational defensive tackle under D'Amico Ryans with the Houston Texans. And when you have that line of communication with a good defensive mind like D'Amico Ryans, who used to be the DC for San Francisco knows what they're getting in the player in Khalil Davis because they can gauge the mind of D'Amico Ryans and try to gather some intel and information as far as what type of player Khalil Davis is. He's 28 years old, good size at 6'2", 315. He was at the Buccaneers for a couple of games in 2020. He played 2 games, spent his rookie year with Tampa Bay. He was with the Colts in 2021. He played 1 game. Bucs Rams practice squads, non-active roster participant with the Bucs and Rams there in 2022. Birmingham Stallions in 2023, and then the last 2 years with Houston. This year, a sack, 4 TFLs, 2 quarterback hits, and 9 tackles. Scheme familiarity as well, because D'Amico Ryans doing a lot of the same things that he did with San Francisco. I think a reason, too, why the Niners were interested in the player at that size in the pre-draft process coming out of Nebraska, he ran a 4.75 40-yard dash. So a fast get-off at that defensive tackle spot allows him to win. He has the size to plug gaps, the quickness to rush the passer, and that fast get-off, important for a player that size, and the Niners really do covet those types of players. Javon Hargrave, Malik Collins, who the Niners also traded for with the Houston Texans earlier in the offseason. His Pro Football Focus numbers, really hard to kind of see what type of player he is just because of the limited workload, but an overall PFF grade of 53.5, pass rush grade of 56.6, a run defense grade of 51.6. In addition to the Niners making that move and trading for Khalil Davis, they have signed 2 players. One a familiar name, and the other a pretty well-known wide receiver in the National Football League. San Francisco brought back safety Tashaun Gipson, and today, after they signed Gipson yesterday, they signed wide receiver Russell Gage to the practice squad. Both going to be depth pieces for this team. For Gipson, a lot of you very familiar with him. Spent the last 2 years with the 49ers in 2022 and in 2023. His path and story in 2022 is very interesting. He was a longtime NFL veteran at that time, in the league for a decade, and Jimmy Ward was dealing with an injury there in the lead up to the season. So the Niners signed Tashaun Gipson to the practice squad for an emergency type of player or a depth piece at that time. And then Jimmy Ward missed the start of the year and then got hurt again. Gipson then got elevated to the active roster. He ended up playing so well for the Niners back then in 2022 that once Jimmy Ward did come back, the Niners wanted to keep Gipson on the field, and so they actually put Jimmy Ward at that nickel role so that they could play Ward as well as Gipson at the same time, and it really did help out that Niners secondary. That year in 2022, Gipson had 8 pass breakups with 5 interceptions. He was among the leaders at the safety spot in both of those categories. And then in 2023, the numbers went down a little bit, but still the starting safety for this football team. 3 pass breakups and a pick. He's a 12-year veteran who has a ton of experience under his belt. 173 games, 165 starts. He, like Khalil Davis, has scheme familiarity. The Niners needed some safety depth. He was suspended to start the year with the Jacksonville Jaguars because of PEDs, and then he was let go by Jacksonville. So while the Niners made a move for Khalil Davis as an official trade, they have made a lot of additions and are getting players back, which serve as deadline type of moves. And I think that's why the arrow could be pointing up for this football team. They get some mojo, they get some confidence going, and Trent Williams even said that the other day. We have Christian McCaffrey back. That helps our confidence as a club. It was also good, he said, to see Dre Greenlaw doing some sprints. That could be a monster addition to this team for a stretch run in an NFC that's wide open and an NFC West that has been one of the more chaotic divisions in all of football, with the Arizona Cardinals leading the division at 5-4. As for Russell Gage, he was drafted by the Atlanta Falcons, 194th overall in the 2018 NFL Draft out of LSU. So he's been in the league for a few years now, 6 feet, 184 pounds. He's actually had some decent production throughout his career. As a rookie in 2018, he made the team as a late-round draft pick, played in 15 games, no starts, 10 targets, 6 catches, 63 yards, no touchdowns. And then in year 2, targeted 74 times, 49 catches, 446 yards, 9.1 yards per reception, and a touchdown. His best year came in 2020, and at that point, it's not like the Falcons were getting great quarterback play. 109 targets, so he was used a lot. 72 catches, 786 yards, 10.9 yards per catch, and 4 touchdowns. The year after that, 94 targets, 66 grabs for 770, 11.7 yards per catch, and 4 touchdowns. And then in 2022, when Tom Brady was still playing for the Buccaneers, I think he kind of advocated for the Bucs to sign Gage. He played in 13 games, 70 targets, 51 grabs for 426 yards and 5 touchdowns. So in 74 games, 25 starts, 244 catches, nearly 2,500 yards, 14 touchdowns. And so he's been a pretty productive player at the NFL level. Another roster move for San Francisco, they open up the practice window for Yur Matos. So once again, the Niners making a trade for Khalil Davis, but they're getting Christian McCaffrey back, hopefully on Sunday against the Buccaneers. They're going to get back Dre Greenlaw at some point, getting back Jawan Jennings, hopefully Talanoa Hufanga, Yur Matos. The Niners didn't really need to trade for an edge rusher / hybrid player if they run out that NASCAR package, because he can play end or defensive tackle at the deadline, because they knew that Yur Matos was coming back off that knee injury. A very good athlete, a former second-round pick. I thought he was playing pretty well before he got injured against Las Vegas, came back from that injury because he sprained his knee, got hurt again, but in a small sample size there, the versatility, playing a little bit of defensive tackle, defensive end, rushing the passer, stopping the run. He takes up a lot of space because he's a massive person. One of the corresponding roster moves for San Francisco, releasing wide receiver Malik Turner from the practice squad. As for Christian McCaffrey, really good news on this front. He did not have any pain or setbacks after he returned to practice earlier this week with that bilateral Achilles tendonitis. He is limited on Wednesday, but that's fine, Kyle Shanahan said. He just didn't have any pain once he came back to practice. So that goes a long way in him trying to ramp up and make that return, knowing that his body is right and that the Niners know his body is right for this Buccaneers game or shortly thereafter. And I thought what Dan Graziano said was pretty interesting about how the Niners plan to use or how they could use Christian McCaffrey, because he believes that CMC could hit the ground running with no limitations. Here's what Graziano said, NFL Insider for ESPN. If Christian McCaffrey plays for the Niners this week, start him without any reservations. Sometimes you want to wait a week when a guy comes off an injury after not playing for a while, but Kyle Shanahan's history with McCaffrey tells us that if his star running back is available, he is basically going to get all of the backfield work. The Niners wouldn't bring McCaffrey back from Achilles tendonitis if they weren't sure that he could handle his normal workload. Also, the Buccaneers are allowing the 5th most fantasy points per game to running backs and the 3rd most over the past 4 weeks. That is true. You think about this Buccaneers team, they have some good defensive players, really at all 3 levels. Like Vita Vea, they're always good at linebacker. They're good at corner, safety. They signed Antoine Winfield to a record-breaking contract extension, and they're coached by Todd Bowles, who's a terrific defensive mind. But with that being said, the Buccaneers defense has really struggled. And so the Niners will have an opportunity going up against a Bucs team where you have a rest advantage going up against them because they were on the road, Monday Night Football, short week, went into overtime, lost an emotional and physical game to Kansas City to put points up on the board. And the Niners have had some time here to make some adjustments, get some rest. It seems as though the last couple of years they've come out of the bye, they've gone to Florida, and they've ended up dominating some of these games. And for Shanahan and McCaffrey, I do agree with Graziano when he says they wouldn't bring him back if they didn't think that he could handle a normal workload. I think they're bringing him back knowing that he's doing pretty well and progressing in that rehab. I have some concerns about how he holds up long-term because with any type of tendonitis, it can flare up at any moment, but he has to be healthy enough with the money that the Niners gave him, guaranteed to him, increased his average annual value. They sign him through 2027. You got to think that he's okay. Otherwise, why are you risking further injury, especially when you're dealing with Achilles tendonitis in both legs, if you were to trot him back out there? I will say, ease him in. I want to see the skill set of Jordan Mason. I want to see the skill set of Isaac Guerendo. I think that they are really good complementary backs. Stop using Deebo Samuel in the backfield. He's averaging less than 3 yards per carry. Let him play at wideout. Use CMC, use Mason, use Guerendo. All 3 different players who all offer vastly different skill sets and intriguing skill sets as well. All right, I'm hopping on out of here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I will be doing a Niners roundtable discussion tonight, Wednesday, November 6th, alongside Grant Cohn, Jesse Naylor, and Ashley Ariana, all very talented Niners content creators who I have mad respect for. Once a week, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, we'll be doing a roundtable discussion where we talk all things Niners, an opportunity for you to all join the show and get some more Niners content from me. So I linked that on the community tab on the YouTube channel here, and I'll see you there. But obviously, the content here doesn't stop.